the truth of it is in order to really find happiness, because this is really what you're looking for whenever you're trying to get a good relationship to work, or you're just looking for peace of mind and happiness, right? You can only find that within you.
Awesome, man. So thank you for jumping on the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Like I believe it's important for us all to help each other the best we can, from our own experiences, because yeah, like dude, that's how you learn, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, how many men are actually going through this, because you don't really hear it a lot until you kind of see it on TikTok or see it on the Facebook groups. But there's a lot of men going through stuff like this, and I'm excited to hear. You said you have almost the secret sauce to getting along with your ex. So I'm excited.
Yeah, well, and you know what? It's not going to be a popular thing for a lot of people, because we seem to, as a species, always look externally for the problems outward,
Yep.
rather than looking inward for what's going on. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I mean, I'll come back to that in a little bit, but like just to kind of give you a little bit of a background, sort of what I went through up to this point, and I'm gonna be honest as well, brutally honest with myself and my actions, because let's be straight, I wasn't always a good dad, and that's me just being honest with myself, and everything that I speak of is all on experience. I can't speak for anybody else. I can't say if it'll work or if it won't work. All I know is this is what's worked for me. And this works for me in every aspect of my life, not just with my ex. So
I love when people come on and they are so truthful, and sometimes it's painful, and sometimes it's like, damn, I look like an asshole, or I look like an idiot. But it's like, it helps other dads, because it's like you can kind of, put the blame on yourself. Like, I fucked up, you know what I mean? And we got to move forward. So I appreciate that. I can't wait.
that's it. Like, you have to accept when you fuck up. Simple as that. Do you know what I mean? Because if you don't learn from that, then you're going to stay in that same circle, going round and around and around. But yeah, so I mean, for me, like, if I go like in the roots, because everybody, like, everything that we know about parenting comes from our parents, right? And that's sort of what sets the momentum for how you are going to be as a parent. Either you follow their lead or you do the complete opposite, that kind of thing. So I grew up in a very low socioeconomic background. Phoenix, Arizona. Lived in like Avondale, Glendale, all around the Arizona sort of slums. All my family were very heavy drug addicts. Them crack dens that you see with no windows, that kind of thing. Yeah, that's what I came from. Um, and I never met my dad, so I never had a father figure in my life.
Still to this day.
Well, my dad passed away of a heroin overdose last year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But you know what it is? I mean, like, again, one of the things, I was trying to reach out. I found out I had other brothers and sisters, that kind of thing. But unfortunately, the disease of addiction had too much of a grip on him, and it is what it is,
Yeah.
So, but I ended up moving to England when I was 16. With my mom. So she came here to get herself off of everything, get clean. She met a guy over the internet. She married him. I came over here with my brother. I've lived in England since 2003. I went back to the States because I didn't want to be here. I wanted to be back home. And a couple of weeks after arriving, I found out that my now ex, the mother of my kids, was pregnant with my son. And so this is sort of one of them first moments when you decide if you're going to be like your parents or not be like your parents. So I genuinely considered whether I should lose her phone number or not.
Yeah.
Like, I won't even lie. I was like, ooh, yeah. She didn't want to come to America.
And you guys are across oceans, you know what I mean? So that it's much easier to sit there and be like, well, kind of, I'll go live my life here. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so I was like, oh man, like I don't know if I want to come, like I don't know, and like, and I hummed and awed, and I was like, I could just easily lose her number, and and obviously something within me was like, nah, you can't do that, you can't do that to your son, you can't be the same as your dad, and I was just like, right, okay, cool. So I came back to England on my own. I was 21 at the time, and my ex and I split up very shortly after me coming back. But I had spent my entire life relating myself to the worser of people in my life. So at least I was there. Do you get what I mean? At least I came to England. At least I was here with, my dad was never there for me. So at least I'm doing better than him. Um, and that's how I lived my life for quite a few years. But so that, and what happened in return is, yeah, I'd come to England to be with my son, but I wasn't being with my son. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I was doing my own thing. I would spend maybe once a fortnight. I'd spend one or once every 2 weeks. Sorry for the American listeners. Um, Once every 2 weeks, I would see my son for a day.
Yeah.
And but like at least I was here, right? Um, and that sort of went on for many years, and then the ex and I tried to work things out. We ended up with a daughter. So then I had two kids with her, and I was still sort of not interested, not putting my effort in because always relating to the worser people instead of looking at somebody that was a great dad and be like, damn, I wish I was like him. I was
Right.
looking at my dad saying, thank God I'm not like him.
And now, was your ex at that point wanting a relationship with you? Like now you have two kids, she wants it to work, or
So our relationship itself, like, so, I mean, I don't want to go into why it didn't work. We never really got along before. Like, even when we were together, we argued about everything. Everything was a fight all the time. And that's why I ended up leaving because splitting up with her because I didn't want that for my children. I grew up with that violence, argument. Like I didn't like the idea. I used to hide under beds and stuff, crying when my mom and her boyfriends and stuff would be arguing, and so I didn't want that. As simple as that. So, but we, she wanted me to always be in their life, and she made every effort for me to be in their life. And then I met my soon-to-be ex-wife, and every partner I had before that was always like, oh, she's the mother of your kids, just make it an easy life, just do as she says, do as she asks, the standard shit. You're like, all right, cool, yeah, let's just appease her. And then my ex-wife basically was like, nah, you're a dad, you have rights, and I'm like, do I? And I got all yeah, I've got rights. What, me? I'm like, all right, cool. So then I started standing up for myself, which my ex did not like at
Mhm.
all. It then became tit for tat, push for clash, boom, 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 constantly fighting, arguing. She'll stop me from seeing the kids. She turned up on Christmas, bro, and I'm not obviously not mentioning any names and
Yeah.
that kind of thing, but like she turned up at like a couple days before Christmas and told my kids because I had messaged her, and keeping in mind I'll come back to this, but I messaged her, the kids are gonna stay tonight. That's all I messaged. But like from her perspective, I said, doesn't matter what you say, the kids are staying tonight.
Right. Fuck you. I'm taking the kids.
Yeah. So she turns up and she basically told the kids, like, oh, yeah, if you don't come home, dad said that you're not going to have Christmas and all this kind of stuff. She
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
she has said some awful things, bro, and I
Yeah.
won't lie. And I forgive her for the things because she's acted on emotion. That's not who she is as a person. Do you get what I mean? It was a very fueled and
And I will say
angry.
this, it is tough for her to see you now married with somebody else taking on that father role that you didn't take on with her. So
Yep.
I can only imagine how frustrated she was with that and how the emotions were probably
Oh,
flowing.
bro, she was fuming. She was so
Yeah.
pissed off, man. She probably just wanted me to burn in hell. You know what I mean? Like, but again, so. all that had happened. She'd stopped me from seeing the kids. And I'm not entirely sure how the process works in America in terms of going through legals. But in order to go to court here, you have to first go through mediation. Once you go through mediation, if there's not an agreement reached in mediation, then you can go to court and get a court order in place. Now, what I see, I love doing research, I love learning, all that kind of thing. And the one thing that I learned was that when you go to mediation, you come up with an agreement. That agreement is not legally binding. There's nothing you can actually do with it. It's just saying, oh, yeah, you guys have worked this out. Which this wasn't the first time she'd stopped me from seeing my kids. So this time when we went into mediation, being genuine, I was unreasonable. She called the mediator, said to the mediator, he can start seeing the kids again, regain access, all this stuff. And I said no. And the mediator was like, what? And I was like, well, if I say yes now, then we're like, okay, we have an agreement. The next time she's mad at me, she can do the same thing again. And then I got to come back to mediation again. And then you know what I mean? I've got to do this whole site. I said, it's not worth it. I said, I would rather spend a little bit more time not seeing my children to make sure that I can always see my children. Simple. Mediator was like, okay, couldn't come to an agreement, got the paperwork to go to court. Now, initially I went in, I wanted half custody, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That was it. I wasn't budging. The moment we got into court and started going, I was very, very reasonable. I was happy with anything as long as it was just extra time, an extra day. Do you know what I mean? And I was very super reasonable all the way throughout court. It was only in mediation that I was unreasonable, but it was intentional to get this paperwork that I needed. Do you know what I mean?
I will say you kind of have to think like that. As much as you might think that that's a negative, it's kind of like you have to think like that because the other person's all, and not to throw shade at your ex, but the other person's always scheming on something and, oh, I'll give him this, but it's not binding, so I can mess with him later, just like you said.
Yeah. Well, it's not even necessarily that she's scheming.
Right.
It's that because it's the idea is that yes, she may very well believe 100% what she's saying. Yes, 100% I'm full on for this. We'll make this work, etc., etc. But then when the emotion takes over, then there's that option. I took away the option. It was all I did. I said, there is no option. We've now got a court order in place. There is no option. And she still manipulated that to the best of her ability as well because of the wording of it. So, for instance, I have the kids from Wednesday to Friday and then Wednesday to Saturday on week 2. Well, it says during the school periods, I have them from after school on Wednesday. And then during the holidays, it's the same schedule as per school. So instead of being like, oh yeah, the kids can come to you at 9:00 in the morning on a Wednesday, it's like, oh no, but they don't finish school till 3:15. So you can have the kids from 3:15, and it became very much like that, And to be honest, and this was going on for years, the court ended up ruling in my favor because I was being reasonable. I just wanted an extra day. She would not budge off anything. Now, that was slightly manipulative on my end. I won't lie. That was a manipulative tactic from me where I was like, when we have mediation, I'm not going to budge. So then she's like, I'm going to meet you with this same animosity. And we got to court. And she met me with that same animosity.
It didn't work out well.
But I knew it wouldn't.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So I knew it wouldn't work. And it's very manipulative. And this just goes to show the type of person I actually was at the time as well. Because I could tell you black and blue how horrible of a person she was and all the horrible things that she did and telling my kids that I don't love them. And yeah, she did all that. She really did. However, what was I doing? Do you get what I mean? What was my role in all of this animosity, right? Well, to begin with, I wasn't involved. I didn't care. So that's number one. As soon as I did start caring, and she kind of got her back up about it, like, well, what the hell? Why now? Once your wife goes, I bet you stop seeing your kids, all that kind of thing. Which, at the time, she was probably right. If my wife would have left me, I probably wouldn't have continued seeing my kids at that point. So she was probably right. Like, let's be honest about this. She was the driving force. And like, I wasn't, but I am now. Do you know what I mean? I'm not with my ex-wife anymore. I still see my kids regularly. Do you know what I mean? So at the time, my motivations were not pure. And because they were not pure, it was a matter of me being better than you, me winning over you, because I deserve to win more than you do, right? And like, let's be straight, that we're going into some deep-rooted psychology here, and this is how most of us react to women, or women react to us. What, you're going to do this? Well, I'm going to go and do this.
You got to one up them. Yeah.
But always tit for tat, tit for tat. And that's all it is. And that's exactly what was happening. But I was blinded to it because of my ego, my superiority complex, where I thought I was better than her. Um, and that's part of what helped me to come to this sort of secret sauce, if you will, this sort of understanding. The relationship between me and her literally, and I shit you not, literally changed like that. And it was all down to me changing the way that I interacted with her. It was all about me. It was always about me. So every time that I messaged her and I was like, I'm taking all emotion out of this, I'm just going to be straight to the point, A, B, C, D. You look like an absolute cock.
Yeah.
You look like you are being stubborn. You look like you're being condescending, because I am. I'm taking all emotion out of it, but I'm condescending to let you know I'm the better person. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Let's be completely honest about it. And the truth is that you have to look inside and actually see this for yourself. This is something, a soul searching sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? What are the motives behind your actions? Right? So the way everything changed was the way that I started to interact with her. The moment that I changed that and I started interacting with her the same way I interact with everybody else, same way I'm interacting with you, with my friends, I just interacted with her as if she was another human being, removing all resentments, removing everything that was there, the past, all, got rid of it all. And I just spoke to her like she was one of my friends, like she was somebody that I've known for years, because I have.
Yeah, and that's the part I feel like a lot of dads, it's hard for them because it's like there's so much pain in between that. Like, you know, they're taking the kids from me. They've done this. They've dragged me through court. They've done all of these things, and it's hard for them to be like, "Oh, well, you know, let's just try to get along. It's all good, you know, I'm sorry." You know, it's tough.
The truth of the matter is that, like, anytime you have resentments, right? All resentments is you being mad at somebody because they're either doing something that you feel you're not allowed to do, or they're not doing something that you feel like you have to do. So again, it is all about your own perception of what you think you are allowed to or not allowed to do, is why you put resentments on other people, or why you have anger towards other people. You only get mad at people when you see a reflection of your own behaviors that you don't like in them. And as you see them reflections of behaviors, it pisses you off and you get agitated and irritated. Ooh, she's being manipulative. Well, wait a second. That's because you're being manipulative. And then you can only spot that because you're being manipulative. The moment you stop being manipulative, or the moment you stop being condescending, that shows in your tone, in your language, and in your vibe, the way that you are as a person. That'll change. And the moment that changes, she'll stop seeing the reflection of her own behaviors in you that she doesn't like. Therefore, her reaction to you changes. It is just a constant battle of seeing things within each other that we don't like, and that's why we're fighting all the time. I change the way I behave, the way I interact. Instantaneously, she changes, because she has nothing to be mad at anymore, right? Because I'm not being that person anymore. Like, regardless of everything that's happened, all things. So, I mean, I'm going to go off subject a little bit here in terms of reality itself, because this is really where I'm a very philosophical thinker. But I have an analogy about reality itself being like the tree of life. And you know what the tree of life is?
Yep.
Yeah. So if you imagine that the tree of life, as the seed is planted in Mother Earth or in the mother's womb, it's then born or sprouts from the earth. As it sprouts, the first 3, 4 years of your life, you are not consciously aware, right? Everything is a blank, if you will. That's your trunk growing. Now, once that trunk grows and you become consciously aware and you make a decision in your life, you don't just make one decision, you make every decision, and that trunk then branches off into other branches of reality. And then in each of them branches of reality, every time you make a decision that's life altering, it'll branch off into other branches and other branches. And then before you know it, you have an entire tree of different realities. Now, depending upon your vibration, your frequency will determine upon which reality that you are laying upon. So if you're in a dark vibration, low vibration, you're on the dark side of the tree where you're getting less light. And as you grow as an individual, you will soon start to come over to the brighter side of the light. And this is where like law of attraction, positive mental attitude, all this kind of stuff comes into play. It's because if you've ever made a decision that you were going to be rich, for instance, well, you're going to be rich because every decision that you could possibly make has and already has been made. And it's just depending upon where you are in your frequency and which reality you're interpreting, if you will. Hence would explain like Mandela effect. So why is it that I'm sure that Michael Jackson says you've been struck by a smooth criminal, but no, it's hit by. But like it's because those decisions could have been different from the realities we came from originally. Hence why some believe it one way, some believe it the other way. It's all half truths and partial falses, isn't it? But anyways, so with that sort of analogy in mind and keeping that sort of perspective of reality in line, that means that every single possible scenario, every possible situation has to happen. So therefore, there's no point in getting hung up on it because it was going to happen anyways. So why get mad? But if you can't control it, if it's outside of your physical control, then what can you do about it? Nothing. So you just deal with the way you react to it or respond to it rather than react. But that's sort of the way that I went through it, was understanding that it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, she might have done this, she might have done that, but what have I done? You know what I mean? I've not always been the nicest person. I've done horrible things in my life. I've been unkind to her. You know, I've not been there as a dad when I should have been. I've made mistakes also. But would I not expect her to forgive me for the mistakes I've made, but yet unwilling to forgive her for hers?
Yeah, and it makes life so much easier when you guys can get along, and for the kids too. The most important part, you know, they don't have to see you guys fight and you know all of that bullshit.
Honestly, bro, like it's not even funny. Like we talk like every other day. She'll call me now and be like, "Oh yeah, blah blah blah. Ethan's done this or whatever. You're like, what can we do?" I was thinking about taking his computer away for a week. Da 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 da. What do you? She's got a boyfriend. I've got a girlfriend. We are two separate households, but yet we still communicate and being like, "Look, we're gonna punish here. This is what we're doing." I'm like, "Cool. I'll bring it over here." Vice versa. The punishments carry on because we are a unit. Do you know what I mean? Like we are a unit, and like regardless of whether me and her are in a relationship together, it has nothing to do with us. This is about making sure that we raise two wonderful children that are going to be the future of our society. That's that's what it's about. Never mind what I think of her, what I think. I mean, as long as my children are safe, that's all that I ask.
Exactly.
And when there were situations when my children weren't safe, I said something, and it changed. Because like at the end of the day, it is a matter of like my job, and I tell my children this all the time. My job as their parent is to protect them, to keep them safe, and to help them learn. And that is my job. And like it doesn't matter how deep that stems. Everybody's own truth is their own truth, and you have to accept that. Like you have to accept that. Yeah, you might have had an art like friends of mine as well. That they're doing a short film at the moment called Who Wins. So it's Who Wins short film on Instagram. And it's basically upon this same sort of thing about perspectives. So the whole idea about when you come into a situation or an argument or whatever, like you could be in the best mood in the entire world. You're in a really good mood. You walk in, she's had a bad day. All it takes is for you to say something that seems like you're being funny, even if you're just saying it in a joking manner, because you're in a great mood. she's going to take that as a bad thing, or vice versa. If she's in a really good mood, she says something joking, and you're in a bad mood, you're going to take that as a negative thing. And therefore, it is a matter of perspective which dictates how a situation happens, which means that no situation is actually how you perceived it to be. It's only partially that way because you don't see the other perspective of how it was experienced in their head. So therefore, you have just as much a part to play in every situation as that other person. So you have to accept that shit goes wrong and just let it go, or be a hypocrite and expect them to be perfect when you never will be.
Yeah, it's hard to see the other side of it, especially when you're angry and you're mad. It's hard to be like, I wonder how this is playing off to them. Like, how do they feel about me saying what I'm saying? You know?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think about that kind of stuff, to be honest. I just say shit and then get in trouble for it afterwards. but but it's all like the truth of it is though is that like that's all right because for me that's just who I am. You know what I mean? When we talk about like when we start going into trying to forgive people or even thinking about in the moments like getting angry. So getting angry is not something that I do either. Um, it's not always something I've not done. I used to be a very aggressive, angry person. Used to smash things, put holes in walls, all that kind of shenanigans. Um, I was very angry, actually. I was a very angry little ball of frustration. But the truth of the matter is that that's a choice.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 100%.
Every everything is a choice, like I've got my cousin actually he's always taught me about this analogy about the hula hoop analogy. So if you put a hula hoop on the floor, you stand inside that hula hoop. Everything inside that hula hoop you have control over. Everything outside of the hula hoop you've got no control over. So what does it matter? You can't do nothing about it. It doesn't matter how angry, how sad, how frustrated. It makes no difference. Outside of that hula hoop, you have to rely on other people or other external factors in order to have any form of control over that, which is still of no control of your own. Your feelings are real. They'll come up. Don't get me wrong. It's not that I don't feel angry at times or feel frustrated. I just don't act on it.
Right. It's how you act, and then you're going to get the reaction of other people. And
Yeah. Cause and effect. The pendulum always swings. Do you know what I mean? Like it's all there. So it's like if I feel angry, I'll just take that moment and be to myself, be like, okay, cool. So why am I feeling this way? What is it like? All right, what are the motivations behind it? Is it something I can control? No, right. All right, cool. Then I'm out. Nothing for me to worry about then. If I can't physically do something about it, or if it's happened in the past, well, I can't change that shit now, can I? It's already done. It's like, just continue, man. Just fucking keep going. The truth of it is in order to really find happiness, because this is really what you're looking for. Whenever you're trying to get a good relationship to work, or you're just looking for peace of mind and happiness, right? You can only find that within you. When I talk about that, the secret sauce, it's you, bro. You are the problem. Like whether she like don't get me wrong, my ex, like I'll say this, like for the longest time, I swear to God, she's a narcissist. Like no question like I swear and those who know what dealing with a narcissist is like, right? But yet now it's just like it was me. It was all me. I changed the way that I was interacting with that situation. I changed the way that I was perceiving her. I don't call her these things anymore. I don't like I used to listen to Eminem's song like you'd be better off dead and all that kind of thing and think about, do you get what I mean? And then when I'm sat here and this is all the stuff that I used to do, and then when I stopped perceiving her as this horrible, nasty little ball of energy, the whole nasty ball of energy dispersed because really it was all my internal perspective of this person or this individual. Now I'll tell you, she's a fantastic mother. Like honestly, I'm ashamed of some of the things that I put her through in the name of me being a better dad or a better parent or because she was this or she was that, when ultimately all that's bullshit. It was my ego My internal dialogue telling me that I was better. But neither one of us are better. The best thing is both of us. Like that, we need both of us, male and female, feminine, masculine energy. You need them both. They are coexistent without reality. They are necessity for creation. They're necessity for nurture.
Yeah, and it's so good. I one of my best friends, Mike, him and his ex, just like you. I mean, they get along so well, and we just talk. And they have a kid together. He has another girlfriend. She has a boyfriend, and they just get along so good. And I sit there and I'm like, I fucking wish that you know what I mean? Like I could get along with my ex like that, so we wouldn't have problems with our two kids, and we wouldn't be arguing, we wouldn't be going to court.
It's all you, bro. I'm telling you now, like, and people find it hard to believe because they're like, oh, you can't put it all on me. You can't put this all on me because she's the one that's doing these things. So what? Do you know what I mean? Like,
But half
at
the
the end
things
of
you
the
were
day,
saying is the things that I was doing, with like talking with her on the phone or text messaging her. There was no emotion. It was like boom, 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 boom. Like get this done, do this, do this. So she's gonna obviously perceive that and be like, oh, he's a dick.
yeah,
Right,
you're just being a
right.
prick at
So
the moment. Why are you being such a prick for? Like, we were intimate. We had loving relations with each other. We spent time together. And do you get what I mean? And now all of a sudden, you're just being an absolute prick. Like, you're telling us that our emotions meant nothing. Like, do you get what I'm saying? Would you not feel the same way if it was reflected back on you the other way? You'd be like, oh, if it was the other way around, you felt like because women are very emotionally driven, right? And men are very logically driven. So we think the logical thing is to be logical. And I'm like, what is it? The truth of the matter is like when I actually stepped back and realized my role in everything, I no longer cared about her role in any of it because it wasn't important. What was important is what I had control over, what I didn't do or what I did do. And that's all that is actually important is about me. I am the most important person in my reality. And I say this to people all the time, and they look at me. I'm like, yes, I am more important than my children. And I have to be more important than my children because if I can't look after them, if I can't look after me, how am I supposed to look after them? Do you know what I mean? I have to be number one. So the number one person of focus, the number one person of resolution or progress is me. Because only when I progress and only when I am well, will everything else around me be well. Like the only way to find enlightenment, it's the only race you'll win without going anywhere because it's all internal. Everything
yeah,
about this is all internal. So even with your ex, like you stop for a second and realize what you've done and acknowledge what you've done and be like, I didn't actually realize, but now that I've seen everything, don't even mention what she's done. Nobody cares about what she's done. We're only talking about you.
right.
Do you get what I mean? Because
Yep,
that's what
yep.
ultimately ended up happening. I called her. I'm like, you know what? I've been thinking. I was an absolute dick. I was like, I am so sorry if over these years I have just treated you like shit. And it was not my intention by any means. But man, how must that have made you feel? Like I'm sorry, man. Like I didn't mean to cause you that much harm. That was never my intention, like genuinely. And I meant it because I didn't mean to cause her any harm. I meant for everything just to work out nice without any drama. I wanted no drama. But women are emotionally driven, man. Like, and even though we're logically driven, we have to have that element of emotional empathy because everything's very emotional for them. So you being very dead on, like, oh yes, I'll be there at 5. Dot dot. Do you know what I mean?
Red dot
Like,
dot. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
like you're just being a prick to her, right? She just thinks that you're being cold-hearted. You're giving her the cold shoulder. Like, did nothing we have mean anything? Our child mean nothing? Like we've made life together. And that's really all that you have to think about is that you two made life together. You don't have to be in a relationship. You don't have to love her. You don't even have to fucking like her. Do you know what I mean? Like
Right, right.
that is not what we're talking about here. We're talking about having a relationship that's necessary for the growth of your child. So therefore, accept what you've done, because that's the only thing you can accept is what you've done. Acknowledge what you've done, and then once you've acknowledged it, and you can then make amends to what you've done through action. not through words. So then don't sit there and be like, oh, yes, I'm so sorry. I've done this. Oh, I'm making an amends to you. I'm so sorry. No, it's like, shit, I've done this. I've now acknowledged what I've done to you. Damn, my bad. And then change the way you behave.
Yeah, you can't think about what they've done, and again, you have no control over that. You got to just internalize it. It's, put it on yourself. Yeah,
100%. Because you're the only thing that's standing in your way.
And that's with everything. That's with everything. Yeah.
That's with everything, bro. Yeah.
You can't hold me down. You can't hold me down.